What's up, my bookaholics? I want to thank y'all for joining us for the final chapters of Dear Dad. Yes, let's give a big round of applause for that because, baby, this has this has been a really interesting read. um, I must say. I want to bring on my guest. I want to thank China Gossip for joining us today as we go through, the whole final chapter 7 through 10. Hey, China,
Hello.
how's it going?
It's going good. How about you?
It's going, boo. It's going, honey. Um, what did you think of the final chapters of the book? I know we're going to get into the whole extent of it, but what do you think from your readings? What did you think of it?
He tied the book up. That much I would say. He definitely tied it up, and it wasn't a bad. The book wasn't bad. It wasn't
Hmm.
bad. I just out his upbringing. I think I was telling you this yesterday. I feel like he kind of had his daddy up on a pedestal, but he blamed everybody else for them having such a hard life. But it truly was your dad's fault. He didn't make his wishes known before he passed away. He should have. That's what I think. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I hear you. But it's noises going on in my background, so
Oh, okay.
trying to mute out the noise so you won't be hearing all the lawn mowing and all that stuff going on in the background. Hey, Mama, I see we got Mama Joe in the building. Hey, Mama. Before we get into this, first of all, you guys, let me make sure that I tie everything in. Give me a quick second here because I'm trying to get the noise and stuff together in the background. So I want you guys to just take a quick commercial break while I get this together, and I will be right back. We'll be right back. This is Michelle Shantae, and if you're looking to get healthy, rejuvenated, glowing skin like her, you need to check out our website. Take a look. What's up, my cursters? What's tea? This is your girl Sixx, and I'm coming to you live. We want to know what the tea is, but I ain't want to gossip, so you ain't heard it from me. But if you got some tea and you want to spill it, then go ahead and drop us an email at sixwordonthecurve@outlook.com. Why? You wonder why? What? Because, bitch, we nosy. We want to know the scoop. We want to be able to come out with some stuff about these celebrities too. We want the tea. You know we are always messy and petty and extra. So hit your girl Sixx up and give us all the tea that you know, and we'll be able to share it on our lives as well, because we want breaking news. And I'm coming to be petty. You heard? That's right, y'all. Don't forget to check out Sixx's Word on the Curb on all social media platforms. You got some information that you want to dispel, shoot us an email, of course, so that we could get the tea. And that's SIXXWOTC at outlook.com, and put in the subject line, what's tea, so I know it's about some gossip. Boo. Okay. All right. I was able to, oh, girl, I'm out of breath. I was over here running, trying to get stuff together. Okay. Let's start off with it, honey. Chapter 7. Never back down. So, according to chapter 7, he gets into the whole ordeal about him not really having a father that he was able to grow up with, and how the hood became his, father figures. Like, he had father figures within the hood that he could go to that would give him guidance and structure of what he needed. And he also discussed that he, even though he gave up the crack hustle, because remember, his mom and his uncle found out that they were doing crack in chapter 6. He was distributing it, not doing it as in snorting it or enjoying to do it, but that he was selling it, and that he ended up leaving that alone, but he still was doing the hustle life. And his mom started to realize that this wasn't what she wanted for her son, and she ended up moving them out of the hood per se. And he ends up moving into another part of Miami. I think he said Liberty City. That's where they moved to, and he said it
No,
took
Liberty City was where they lived. I forgot where he said they moved to, but it was somewhere with a
oh,
K.
that's where they moved to. Okay, so they
Yeah.
didn't move to Liberty City. That's where they moved from.
Liberty, yeah, that's where they moved from. Liberty City, girl. You know, I know them from the first 48. That ain't the good area.
Right. Okay, and so they ended up moving up into an area where, it looked really nice. It was a, upper escalage of palm trees, and the atmosphere itself was just totally different environment. And it was mostly, he stated it was mostly, white people there, entirely populated with white people.
Yep.
And he had to be thrown into a new school. So he said, you got to understand, I moved from Jamaica to Liberty City. So Kendall is not the type of racial breakdown I was used to seeing at all. In my Kendall school alone, you basically had 100 whites to one black. If you want to count it like that, this was not such a good feeling. And I was about to find out why. So as he started to dispel some of the things he encountered in school, one of the situations he talked about was being called a nigger by a white person. And they got into, like, he literally was with his mom at the time no, he saw the guy say it to him, and then he ended up taking it up with him later.
Right.
So he tells about the whole situation where he remembered his face. He found out where he lived and everything, and went and gave him a beating of his life. And he was supposed to, the white guy was so caught in some kind of gang or something. And I guess the gang members wanted to retaliate. And so he ended up going to get his boys, and they got a beat down like never before as well. And eventually they was like, no, it's not like that. The whole beef is squashed and everything like that. And that gave him the status of him being like untouchable, because he continued to have fights and everything at that school. And he was just whooping ass with every fight that he encountered. He ended up being the man. So eventually he does have another situation. And I guess this is where he ends up meeting his buddy, which I forgot his buddy's name.
Tyson.
I was going to say it start with a T. Tyson, because Tyson came to the school as a newbie, and was like, who's the baddest person in the school and all of this. And they kept saying K Money, Manny, Miney, however you want to say it. And he was like, well, not anymore. So basically, he was going to bring it to him so that he could be the best in the school. But what eventually happens is him and his mom meets up with his mom's friend, and they go over to the house, and they have some kids there, and they end up meeting. And once he find out that this is the kid, because he's been hearing about this rumbling through the school that some guy's supposed to be bringing it to him. So,
Mm-hmm.
and he tried to look for him, but he couldn't find him at the time, but ended up meeting him at his mom's friend's house. And what ended up happening is they became really good friends, where they partner up. Like whenever one was fighting, the other one get called over and they both give him a beat down, and vice versa. So it became a long lasting friendship. But I think that he was one of the ones that he ended up talking about at the end of chapter 6, when he listed what happened to his friends over the course of time. But that sparked that whole big friendship between the two, that they were inseparable. Um, and he felt like he had a brother. You know what I'm saying? Even though he has brothers and sisters, but he didn't have them near him. So
Right.
Tyson became like the ultimate brother. So a little bit further in chapter 7, he gets into this whole situation about his siblings, where he realizes that they're being treated like royalty and he's not. So this is what he says. This is on page 120. My eyes were opening and I was watching my family, looking at my brothers Ziggy and Stevie, my sister Sedalia, and everybody else. Honestly, I'm watching them and they're living like kings and queens, like royalty. And they should have been. Their father had been crowned a king. But I was also the seed of this man. And I'm in a situation that's not so pretty. It's a struggle, always has been. The questions were finally drawn on me, like, if my father is this person who made many millions, why am I living like this? Those lights were cutting on. And as far as my childhood, I think that was why I was so bitter. I think that subconsciously, this was why I lashed out so much, and why I did a lot of the things I did in the way that I did them. Maybe in some strange way, this was my way of coping with it, or maybe my way of not coping with it. But whatever it was at that point, I knew I was a bitter child, and I knew I was bitter for that reason. Heavy issues were growing and burning in the back of my head, and I think they were burning longer than I knew they were burning. So he's trying to tie up into the whole ordeal of his dad not being there to help raise him, and then him not having the same advantages that his other siblings had, because most of them were by Rita, which was white.
Right.
What
Which
did you think?
wasn't fair. It definitely wasn't fair. I agree with him. Um, I agree with him. It wasn't fair for them to grow up so poor, but I think the blame was placed on Rita when it should have been his father for not providing for him. Bob should have made his wishes known. That's just it. And it would have been different.
Sorry about that, Sean. But yeah, I do believe that he wasn't set up for he was set up for failure because he was not a part of the rest
Yeah.
of the family. Yeah, I get that. And he
Yeah.
does go into it as to, how he felt about this whole thing, and we will get to that. Um, then he talks about the first fight that he had in school, which we already discussed that anyway, in chapter 7. And then he talks about a second fight, which we kind of, led up to. Um, but again, the fights were Just his way of showing that he was able to be number one. I felt that like he was having these fights just to prove that he was substantial. He has the status to be number one, even though he's not in his immediate family. Does that make sense? Like I was picking up that, if I couldn't be number one with the rest of my siblings, I'm gonna be number one and whooping ass because I got hands. I'm Bob Marley's son, and I'm the son of a king. That's the way I was figuring it.
Well, I mean that, but I also think he knew what was up. If he didn't go to that school and whoop some ass, they was gonna be bullying him. You see how they tried to the first day? He had to nip
He
that
did.
shit in the bud quick.
Yeah, he did. He did have to nip it in the bud.
They
But I
was about to wear his ass out. But I get what you're saying. I mean, there is a certain expectation for him being Bob Marley's son.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And he does talk about that in the coming chapter. So let's get to chapter 8. You neglected, rejected, and ejected me. Still, it's only love I have. So in this chapter, he was saying that even though his father wasn't there, he was gone, he was aware of that, and he didn't need like people pointing out that to him every minute of his every steps. And the students at his classes, you know they only knew him as Kaimani, who had these hands, but it was one person that I guess he was walking home with, and he realized that this is where you live and you're Bob Marley's son, and you live in this broke down ass home. Like, how is that so? And he's, you know, it got back to all of the schools, and it kind of provoked another situation. But he does finally mention his father's side didn't care for him, and that he feels like this was one of the hindrances of his life, that he didn't get his just due like everybody else because he was treated differently because he was the outside kid. um and he says it on page 140. He said when people are drowning and they will grab on to the closest thing to them so that they can help pull themselves up from air. This is what many people in these ghettos do, but I was going to do more. I was going to survive like many in these ghettos do. I was going to survive. And I was determined to get a successful life in whatever lane opened up for me. And he said, this is how Anita raised me, which is that his mom survived by any means and all means necessary. No fault, no failing, no dying. We're coming, period. Judge me, hate me, love me, debate me. It's your choice. But it's so real, and real is exactly how I keep it. Why would anyone ask me to do anything else? And then he goes into how um his the family knew that he was struggling in the
Yeah,
state. And he was deeply hurt by that because he didn't feel like they offered him a helping hand. Like he said, nobody reached out to him and said, "Hey, do you need clothes? Do you need some money? You need a book bag?" Like they was literally piss poor, broke, shitting outside, had a kitchen outside, and none of his siblings, even the older that they got, were lending a helping hand to him to try to get him out of the circumstances that he was in. And
yeah, I
that
said
was really
that.
sad because I understand that he felt like he wasn't loved by his other side, and that he was being mistreated.
I mean, yeah, he said he would see his siblings going out and shopping and just spending money frivolously, and he was struggling, and they didn't seem, I mean, if it was me, but I was raised with my brother and sister, so maybe that's the difference. I don't know, because I'm like, if it's me, if I got some money and I know my sibling is broke, I'm gonna at least buy them something, or give them some money for their pocket or something.
Yeah.
But maybe because they weren't, I think they were all being influenced by their mamas.
He does mention that in the book that it was the influences on the parents' side, but he did say he still got the chance to go and stay with them sometimes. And he said, coming from having, nothing, and then you go and you stay with them for a few weeks or whatever, and they got maids and butlers, and they living in a mansion, and they got money to go shopping and all that stuff. He was like, it was night and day. So he was able to be with his siblings, and he partaked in it. So I'm just was a little bit confused as to why he had the ability to go and stay with them, but they didn't want to give him any a helping hand. Like, why would you have him over he said that he had a connection with his older siblings. Who did he say? He said Stevie and who was the one that he grew up with that his dad brought him around the first time around. Um
Steven, I think.
it
Yeah.
was Stevie and somebody else, Stevie wasn't the one that they were with together. Hold on. I'm gonna try to find out who that was because was a not Marlin, but something Marlin. Something sounding like it. But he grew up around his siblings, and he even talks about how they would call each other and he would check up on them, and they were like when they got older and stuff. Like by the time he got 15 to 18 years old, they were pretty much adults, and they were able to keep in contact with them, with each other.
I
He
mean, I
talks
don't
about
think
that.
contact was the issue. I think he wanted some coin. He
But
spent time, and
yeah.
well, he said they would go shopping, and I'm assuming he was there spending up money and wouldn't give him none.
Yeah, they weren't helping to fund him at all. So I get that. And he does say that, he was broke in the pocket. Don't mean broken in spirit, even though he wasn't getting money from the estate and everything like that, he was still trying to have a connection with his siblings.
Yeah. Hmm.
And
Oh,
this is how he talks about the connection that he had with his siblings. It's on page 142. He said, like I said, for me growing up, Marley has had a double edge. It has brought me many blessings, including some of the highest joys I have ever felt. But it has also brought me some of the lowest lows I have ever been made to feel. And I would never want you to misunderstand exactly who I am. I want to make it all completely clear to you. I love my Marley family, period. I love them. I love both of my families, every last member. I love them. I'm the type of man who reserves his deepest love and loyalty for family. It is my personal creed. For Kamani, nothing feels better than family. And yes, we have traveled some extremely hard roads to get to where we are today, but we are here. And I love my family. We do still occasionally bump heads, fall out, make up, and have misunderstandings. But again, this family has my love. They have it in a way that is beyond their understanding and sometimes beyond my own. That is what it means to love unconditionally. And unconditionally is how I believe a family should love. The family
mm,
should be the first and last place in the world where you find you are accepted for exactly who you are, no more, no less. So it sounded like to me, the further that you read in chapter 8, that he was explaining their negativeness towards him, but that he was trying to overlook it. And then it did like a 360, like he tried to, like he was saying all of this stuff about them and how they had their arguments and disagreements, but then he was trying to wash it all up to make it sound like, hey, you know, don't take it like this. Even though I'm saying, we had these disagreements and fallouts or whatever, but we still family. We still, come together. Like it was a little
right.
bit strange to me because he goes on to say, even when he speaks about Rita on page 146, he was saying, that the adults who have been around him were the ones who created the division. He said this
Right.
happened to my siblings, this happened to me, and it's created wedges between us that I'm sure none of us saw at the time. We were just reflecting who we were around most. My heart, soul, and upbringing tells me that Rita Marley has had no love or joy over the fact of my creation for all of these years. In fact, my upbringing is the confirmed evidence of this. I have been touched by her disdain all these years, made to feel her feeling about my birth. And I know it is the same for any of the other children who were not born to her. I know how this affected my life. I know how much pain I have endured because of it. I know that these express ways and words of my father's wife may have affected many of my brothers and sisters in their ways of being towards me, whether consciously or subconsciously. How could it not? But knowing this has not eased the pain of it. Receiving venom from a direct source or from a surrogate makes no difference. The bite of the aggression is the same. The venom of it still courses my veins today, going from boiling to cold to boiling again, just looking for a way out, just looking to heal. Rita's not the only one. My mother played a part in this as well. The adults will go to war, and sometimes the only casualties are the children. When things got to a certain pain of financial hardship while I was growing up, my own mom would clearly state, "Oh, your brothers don't give a damn about you. Your brothers don't care about you." And when you hear your mother saying that at that age, you can't help but believe it. I couldn't help but be affected, just like my brothers couldn't help but be affected by whatever their mother was saying about us. I can only imagine what they have had to absorb about me and any of us living outside of their immediate household, which I get. I totally get that part.
Yeah, I
You're
mean, Rita definitely, if she felt some type of way, which I'm a bit confused by that because, well, maybe it was just him because she probably didn't get along with his mother. Because I'm like, Rita made it look like shit. She was out here taking care of these children.
yeah,
In
yeah,
her book, that's what she implied, right?
yep, yep. She made it seem like she was housing them and
Yeah,
giving them away, and some of them she adopted.
right. That's what I'm like. But you know, the thing about it is if she had issues with the mother, like he said, those issues was gonna pour over to the child, which is sad. My thing is, I like if you choose to stay with a man that had an outside baby, that means that you accepting that outside baby, so they should be treated as such.
Facts, facts. I mean, she didn't have no problem treating some of the other ones. Hell, she even adopted some of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Maybe it's because she didn't like his mother. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Or maybe it could have been the fact that, she had an outside baby and he accepted that one and adopted her. So she adopted some of his.
Yeah, I guess the one she wanted to anyway.
Right.
Yeah, I get what he's saying. I feel bad for him. I really would like it not. I mean, I wish Bob would have made arrangements for all his children because he could have. He had time to do it.
Yeah, he did.
He was right there on that deathbed, and he could have done it.
Yeah, he could have
But
made the
he
changes.
chose to. Decided not to, and just decided to leave everything up to Rita. Maybe
Right.
he trusted Rita. I don't know, but you know he made a big mistake because If I would have made sure that all of my kids had the same thing while I was living and dead, like if his children were living, any of his children were living in poverty even while he was alive, because by the time he died in 1981, he had some coin by then. He could have set Kaimani and his mama up, but I don't know why he didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
hate for them to blame Rita, because I don't even pretend to imagine what I would feel like if my so-called husband was out here having all them. He wouldn't be my husband. That's what I say, but I don't
Mhm.
know what I would do in that situation. I hope I would leave, but I don't know what I would do if my so-called husband out here having babies left and right now.
Right. That's true.
That's a
Well,
lot to put on a woman to expect her to, you know,
just
be a
keep
bigger
accepting
person.
your infidelities all these years and creating babies while you were doing it.
Right.
Well, going through chapter 8, he does get into some more information about Rita, which Rita touched on in her book when we read it. He said Rita Marley and even Chris Blackwell of Island Records were generating a lot of drama around the property and monetary holdings of my father. You know how it is when a wealthy man dies, people lose their minds and wolves come out of sheep's clothing. Now, remember from Rita's book, she was saying that people were saying that she was stealing all of this money. And even though she didn't trust Chris Blackwell, she still partnered up with him because Bob trusted him. But he was one of the ones that was going around spewing this negativity about her spending
Right.
this money. So, now I'm looking at her sideways because you knew Chris was doing some bogus ass shit, but you still wanted to partner up with him to try to get this resolved, which they did according to her in the book. But what Kaimani was saying is that she let me know that somebody from the estate, whether it was the lawyer or somebody else, I don't know, was responsible for writing a letter saying some outrageous things, including statements that I am not my father's child. Madness. My mom told me that she had written them back and let them know the dates, time, and full details of their entire sexual act. Laughing. You know how my mom, Anita, don't play at all. So it was like they were questioning the paternity of whether or not he was a true Bob Marley child. And so, she was willing to do DNA and everything. Anita was to prove that that was Bob's child. But I don't think the paternity went through. I don't think they ended up doing that. And what they did is they came back to offer him um a couple of choices. Now, this is when the shit just started to sound really strange to me, Sean.
Yeah, me too. I was like, what?
On how the hell they was gonna try to, scheme him out of this money. So what the deal was, they were going to offer him $60,000 from the estate. But what they wanted him to do was reinvest the money back into the estate so that he could forever be connected to the state and receive monies, which that doesn't make any sense to me. Or you can take the 60K and you can walk out of their lives and you won't be a part of the estate.
Yeah, very odd decision for a child to have to make.
Yeah, I mean, even though he was 18 years of age at the time, I believe that occurred, but still, he had like Bob Marley's estate was a multi-million. Well, the way he put it, it was multi-million-dollar estate. And he was, going through the whole thing that the family never offered him a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. But at 17, 18 years old, you want to offer me 60K, of which I've never had that much money ever in my life.
Right.
And you want me to reinvest it back into the Marley estate. So this is what he said. If they said, okay, you can have this lump sum of money, but if you take the lump sum of money, you're going to have to invest it all back into the estate in full. And we would give you something like 3 G's a month and a 60K payout for your bank account to start. Looking back, that's some old monkey money, if you ask me. Then I was told if you choose not to invest the full amount back into the estate, you can no longer be part of the estate, meaning its earnings. So, how does that sound? Like, how are you just gonna think that I'm not gonna take the full money?
Right. But so I must have misunderstood. So the payout was, they didn't say how much the payout was going to be. He was, if he would have choose to reinvest, he would have took his 60,000 and got a 3,000 a month payout. Is that what they said?
So they said if you take the lump sum of money, you're going
Mm,
to have to invest it all back into the state in full. And
mm,
we will give you something like 3 G's a month and a 60K payout for your bank account to start.
mm, mm.
So that made it seems like, okay, if you reinvest the money back into the state, we're going to turn around and start giving you 3 grand a month. And
Right.
we're going to also give you a 60K payout to your bank. And you're going to always get something from the estate. So that's what it made it seem like. But at first, when I first read it, it just made it seem like you weren't going to get anything back.
Right. So, I mean, of course, I know he felt like he's entitled to more, definitely, but that doesn't seem just too terrible to me. But I don't know what payout he doesn't really specify. If he didn't take that deal, what was he getting?
If he just took the 60K payout, then he wouldn't be getting the
3K a
three
month. So,
G's a month plus a
okay.
60K payout. So he would have got both.
Okay, so I was a bit confused because
Mhm.
so the 60K he was never gonna get. He would have had to put that back into the estate, but he could have got 3,000.
A month and then 60K payout as well.
Okay.
So it's so confusing the way that he worded it, because then he goes on to say that, they never specified like when he would start getting the 3K a month. They didn't say when he was going to get the 60K payout. If he was to go with it and reinvest it back into the estate, like he didn't give us, or he wasn't understanding either the options and how they were going to work. They weren't giving him any dates or nothing like that of
Yeah.
what when he would receive whatever he was going to get if he was to reinvest.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I mean,
For the most part, he did say that he took the payout, and that the brothers and them were upset with him, that even when he called his oldest brother, that he heard his girlfriend say it's Kamani, and he was like, tell him I'm not here, and he heard that on the phone. Like they cut off all communication from him after he went the opposite way of not reinvesting that 60K back into the estate.
I guess, I mean, maybe the family made him feel like, oh, he just want the money. He don't want to be tied to us no more.
Right, maybe that was a test.
Uh, I
But
don't
he
know.
does go on to say, and this is what he said on page 162. He said, "Here you are telling me to return this money, but there you have been for your entire freaking life spending money like there's no tomorrow, and the money you're spending is not like that's all the money you went out and earned on your own. A lot of it is still our father's money. So now you can't be upset with me, because for the first time I'm going to be able to experience life a little differently, and this is something that you have been doing all along."
Hello. I mean, I agree with Kamani there. And then they really, I think, why do you have I don't understand why you had to invest back into it. What, did y'all need the money, or like you said, was that some kind of test?
I think it was a test. I don't think that they needed the money at that time when he passed away, and they turned it over to the Bob Marley estate and his foundation. Remember, Rita Books was saying that she ended up setting him up real nicely. He was a multi-million-dollar estate.
Yeah, so I'm confused about why they would need to
Reinvest that money.
why does he have to reinvest his money?
Yeah,
And you
that
know the
part
type
didn't make
of
sense.
lifestyle he has led.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be mad at him. Of course, y'all gonna reinvest because y'all been reaping the benefits your whole. I mean, not your whole lives, but
Yeah,
shit.
they whole lives because they even making money doing music.
Right. So that's all I'm
The
like.
whole Bob Marley family, even in Rita's book, she was saying she would go on tour with her kids so that they
Right.
can learn the ropes, and then she ended up eventually stopped going on tour with them so that they can learn how to do what they wanted to do with music.
Right. So you know, I mean, I get what Kamani is saying, and I don't know what I would do in that situation based off of how they would treat me. Eventually, when people don't, when I don't like when folks get mad, the first thing they want to do is try to cut you off. Like you see how when they got mad, Steven or whoever he called, I forgot who he said, maybe Ziggy, I don't know.
I think it was Ziggy. Yeah, Ziggy and
But
Stevie.
then he don't want to talk to him because he's not doing what he want to do. Why does he have to do what you want?
Hmm.
To be accepted into the family. So I get what Kamani was saying.
I think for the most part that they wanted to have him follow suit with
Right.
what they had been doing all of these years to preserve their father's fortune and to preserve what he was living for. And I think that they wanted him to just follow suit with what they were doing. Do what we've been doing all of these years. We've been making sure to always do foundations for him. We give back to the community, da 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 da. And by this time, he hasn't even established himself as a musical person within the Marley umbrella. He was
Right.
still out here as an 18-year-old ripping and running the streets. And now he has the opportunity to finally get some money where it could move him and his family out of the ghetto. That was his main concern.
Yeah,
That was
I
his main
mean,
concern.
finally he could have a little money for his pocket. Finally, he could stop living pillar to post, help his mama out and stuff. You
Hmm.
know.
And that was one of the main things that he said towards the end of chapter 8. Um, and just to read the final page of it, he said, our grandmother, Sedella, used to tell me that nothing made our father happier than to see all of his children gathered together. I know that he's here still. It may not be in the flesh, but it is definitely in spirit. I want us all to carry on the legacy and the life in the way that would be pleasing and satisfying to him. I can't say that everything that we do is going to satisfy him, but I can say that we can try. I don't want any of my family to worry about the past and all the things that I have said here. It is just the past. It is just my story. The past is even the last breath you have, just breathe. It can go away that easy. Let it go. So I will and accept that Kamani had a different path to walk, a different destiny to fulfill. Maybe I got a little hollowed out in life to become a better instrument of Jah. And after a while, after some years, it all comes full circle. So he ends up, pointing out that they were kids. He understand that, a lot of the stuff they did was just done, from the way that the parents were interacting with each other and having animosity about Bob's infidelities, and that rolled over to the children, and the children was mistreating each other because of it, but that he wants everything to be the past. He doesn't want to reflect on what has happened. He wants them to be in a good space going forward. That's what I got from that last chapter.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he's just telling the story from his perspective. I don't think that there's something that they should be upset about because if he's telling the truth, what are y'all mad about?
Right. I just think that was a real shady move, to sit up here all of this time and then, when you become an adult, you still kicking him down when he's finally getting a helping hand. Like you still trying to kick him down. Like, why didn't y'all just say, hey, look, we really want you to be with the estate and all of that. But you have to follow certain protocol. If that's what the case was. Like, why didn't y'all just say that? Why y'all, making it seem like, they shouldn't even gave him an option. They just should have said, hey, look, we're going to give you 60K and 3 grand a month. Then
Yeah,
at any time after so many years, you can petition to request for a little bit more from the estate, or you can have the estate pay for whatever if you have kids along the way or whatever, because I'm pretty sure that all of them is reaping the benefits of the estate, and so the grandkids are too.
right. And he deserves to reap the benefits of it. He was Bob's son, just like they were.
Yeah. Well, that leads us into going into chapter 9, many mansions in my father's home. And this chapter gets into him um figuring out what he loved to do. So he talks about his running, he talks about soccer, and stuff like that. He talks about, even though it was bad, he did enjoy hustling. Um, and then he gets into how he came across music, how music became a part of him, how he started to get into the music industry. And this is what interests me, because, and I wish he would have talked a little bit more about it, but that when he got into music, his sibling wanted them to be under their record label,
Uh huh.
and he declined it and went with a different record label, and they were pissed off about that. But my thing is, why you gonna be mad at him when y'all asses didn't even want to give me part of the estate? So then you want to make money off of me? You want to you, like, you didn't give me shit, but then you want to
Right.
turn around and make money off of me doing music? You sound crazy.
Crazy as hell.
And if I couldn't trust you with the estate, how can I trust you with my business?
Right. I mean, that's fair. That is truly fair.
Yeah, I was a little bit taken aback by that. And he talks about how he got into it, and he got into the music because he was DJing. And then some beat he got a hold to kind of resonated with him, and that's how he ended up doing the song Dear Dad. And the Dear Dad song ended up coming across a record label producer who he met with, and that's how he ended up getting on. They offered him a record deal, and he started touring with some of the bands, and he was experiencing racism and stuff with the band. But I think it was with Tyler. Wasn't Tyler
No, he went out with Van Halen.
Van Halen? I'm sorry, Van Halen.
Yeah.
And he grew a good relationship with Van Halen, and Van Halen was just like telling him, he's not tolerating that disrespect, because he knew his father, and his father and them had a good rapport, and he talked about how his father helped him out at one point in time and stuff like that. So basically he was just letting them know, you in good hands. Don't worry about it. And so I think he stayed with them for the longest.
For like 5 months, he said, which
5
they were
months.
saying was the longest that anybody stayed with that tour. And he had
Mhm.
to leave, I think, I forgot why he said he had to leave, but he really could have kept going if he had wanted to.
Yeah. I think he just ended up trying to do different types of music because he started to get into the rap.
Yeah, hip hop happened. That's what
Hmm.
happened. Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
makes
He
sense.
started getting into the hip hop era, and that kind of changed his direction. And then he started to do his own music and do his own CDs and stuff like that. And he eventually came out with his own foundation. He started having a family, and he was just growing from that, which led us into chapter 10. Like chapter 9 was really he did a lot of repeating in chapter 9. Oh my god, can I just say that? Like he repeated so much in chapter 9 of saying the same things over about him, his upbringing and being a hustler, and I was just like, I'm so over this. um Literally, you guys who didn't read the book and are listening, you're getting the cliff notes. Like literally, I'm walking you through each chapter because and I hate to say it, but you don't even have to waste your time reading this if you listen to all of our lives that we did on this book. We literally break it down and give you the key information and points per chapter, because baby, this was a tough read. The way that he writes, and I don't know if you feel that way too, Sean, but the way that he writes was driving me crazy. I did not
Yeah,
like it.
his writing style is a deterrent for me because he write like he talking, and that doesn't work. Like if you're doing a book with dialogue, that works. But if you're
Mm.
just talking, telling us your life story, that doesn't work. You wind up, like you said, he'll say something, then he go down and re-summarize. Like, sir, you just said that.
I was getting so mad.
You
I
literally
was
just said that.
like literally, I was going through the chapters, like, how much of these pages of this chapter I got left? Like, that
Ooh,
was
I
bad.
was doing the same. Like, girl,
Okay.
this chapter still going on. Look.
Like chapter set, I think it was 8 and 9 had the longest chapters. It was probably like close to 15, 20 pages out of the whole book. uh those were the longest chapters of him just repeating the same old stuff over and over again. I was just like, was ready to just cut my throat, just end it. Okay, just end it.
Oh, well.
For real. I was just like, I know you freaking lying. I cannot endure any more of this. I'm ready to be done with this book. Okay, literally, that's what I
I
was saying.
feel you.
Yeah. So that ended up wrapping up chapter 9. On to chapter 10, Life from Both Sides, which was another reverse of previous stuff that he said over and over again.
Oh,
He talked about the problems of the world and the faith. Like, I'm trying to summarize it all because it was a lot of repeats. He walked through the ghettos and seen all of the negative stuff, which of course he told us throughout the whole book, and that he believes that there's a solution that has been given throughout all of this. He ended up becoming like he wanted to make sure that he was going to get back to the community, that he wanted to resonate some of the things of humanity and resilience that his father brought. He brought one love. He brought love for all. And he wanted to bring awareness. And this is where he talked about doing his own his own foundation. Um and he talked about some great people in his book, which I sat out when he started talking about Dr. Carson from Detroit.
I was
Ben
like, Ben
Carson.
Carson. Oh, this must have been before he did his presidential run. Okay.
Right, when he was a
Okay, because I was like,
neurosurgeon.
what? But then I remember this book was written, written
Right.
before then. Okay.
Girl, yeah, because I was like, I know you freaking lying, but 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 then he started to get into the passion of what the beliefs of his father was, and he tried to well, what he didn't, I'm not gonna say he tried to, but what he is doing is that he ended up following suit, and that's what he ended up getting throughout it. And he doesn't mention anything like he ended up like getting a way back to having a good relationship with his brothers and sisters or anything like that. But
I
that
mean, he did shout them out at the end and said
he
all their
did.
names and told them that he loved them, and
Yeah, that was
so
at the end of chapter 9. He shouted them out and gave them all the names and stuff like that. But in the final chapter, it was just like a summarization over the course of the chapters, and that he was what he's looking forward to doing in the future. He even talks about partnering with the Sickle Cell Foundation. He ends up talking about his two boys receiving a blood transfusion, and working out some connections about the circle of crisis and struggle, and how he was trying to build a pathway for something of that nature. Um,
yeah.
and how it just resonated with him because it's in his DNA, because he's a Marley. He's Bob Marley's son. And he feels completely compassionate about the work that he foresees coming to him and what he's enduring at that particular time in his life.
Mm.
And that was the end of chapter 10.
All right. Well, we made it through. The book. I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was bad. Just, I think he probably should have got a doggone ghostwriter or something to help him. You know, because it takes a lot to be an author. You can't just go throw words on a page.
And that's what it seemed like the majority of these chapters was. If you had to grade the book between a 1 through 10, Sean, what would you give the book rating?
This one I would give. I'm gonna say a 6. I'll give him a 6.
Okay, girl.
Oh, you ain't gonna give him a 6? Damn. Well, what are you giving 6?
I
So,
I give it a 5. And I really wanted to give him a 3, but I
damn.
because, and the reason being is because I felt like you didn't tell me nothing.
Well, he didn't have nothing to tell you. What
And that's the problem. You shouldn't even wrote a book at well, okay? You shouldn't.
Oh, well.
You shouldn't have wrote a book. You shouldn't have put no words on a page. You didn't have shit to tell. You didn't have follow-up information. You dispelled stuff about Rita and everything else. And I felt like you didn't have any backing of it. What was your proof? Like, if you know for a fact, besides what your mama was telling you because you was a kid, but you should have been able to come across something at one point in time. You gave us a little bit of information, but you made us wait towards the end to get that small. And when I say small detailed information, it wasn't even enough to fill a page. The information out of the whole book of what you told me, I could tell you in 5 seconds. You grew up poor as fuck. You didn't have a window to piss in or a pot to throw it out of. You ended up moving from your Jamaican lifestyle to your Miami lifestyle, which wasn't much better. You moved from that neighborhood to a better neighborhood, but it was all white. You were still struggling. You were still hustling, selling dope off of the corners. You got into a whole bunch of riffraff in the street. You was only known for having the fastest feet for running, playing soccer, and hands. You fought with your hands. And all of this could have been told in less than fucking 10 chapters. It was a waste of paper, a waste of time. Like, I don't feel like you told me anything. Yeah, you had situations with your brothers and sisters, but you didn't really give us the rundown of that. And then you kind of washed it over at the end to try to make it seem all kumbaya. Like, hey, yeah, we fought, we had these issues, and it was more than what you told us in the book. It was more. But you set up here and kind of washed it over like, it's not that important. I still love you. You my brothers and sisters and whatever. And that's when I feel like that's when you ended up getting a payout or some additional money from the 60K you got, so you can shut your mouth up and keep your mouth closed. Like literally, this was nothing. This was a waste of time. I would have gave it a 3, but I gave it a 5 because I felt like, you tried.
Well, damn. Tell us how you really feel, boy. Oh, well.
This was a waste of time. This was a waste of a read.
Well,
And
Kamani, you on Sixx's list, sir. I'm
you
sorry.
on the list, and I know that something is out there about him doing another book. Granted, I would never read another book from him.
Yeah, I feel you. I definitely understand.
So, big ups to Kamani for telling us your side of the story. You guys, I am reading Sadella, the mother of Bob Marley's book. And I'll give y'all, once I finish that book, I'll tell y'all what I think about it. It was not on our list. We still have not decided to pick and choose a book for our next read. But I try to give us like a break after reading a book, to just try to pick up with your everyday living, get back to family or whatever. I've taken a hiatus because sometimes social media can be a little bit too much. So if you are a part of Sixx's Word on the Curb, and you follow me, and Shine the Gossip and Michelle Shantae, us all together on the other social media platforms, I've kind of taken a hiatus. But I am working on something behind the scenes for you guys that are into like Detroit scandals. I'm working on a Detroit scandal piece, where I'm going to put out, it's not going to be a live, it will be a video of Detroit's own Mayor Kilpatrick, Kwame Kilpatrick, and Christine Beatty's whole situation, and give you all of the scandal behind that. What a lot of people don't even know is that I had the opportunity to meet the stripper Strawberry, which she was in our video, Ali Life Corrupts, that's the way we roll video. And I had a really good report with her when I first met her on the video shoot, and we had some behind the scenes conversation. She was really cool. And I will dispel all of that scandal stuff information with the Manugian Mansion party of his wife at the time supposedly went up there and started whooping on allegedly Strawberry at the mansion. And then of course
Well,
she ended up coming up murdered. So it's a whole big old Detroit scandal. And I'm not really going to get into like, you know, what he went down for. We're basically going to concentrate on the scandal part of that. So you can look forward to that coming out. I will post it once I have it completed on YouTube. And you will be able to exclusively see it there under Sixx's Word on the Curb.
ooh. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not from Detroit, but I love a good scandal, so I'll be tuned
Girl,
in.
yes, like literally, like I haven't even said anything about it because it's kind of taboo for us Detroiters to talk about Kwame Kilpatrick. But he has, been out of jail. He has married his new wife, and they live outside of Detroit. But he's come back to Detroit a few times. He's done some interviews. I'm going to put together some of the interviews that he's done where he talks about how he met Christine Beatty, because they were childhood schoolmates.
Oh,
um so they've known each other their whole life, and how he hired her to work on his campaign when he was running for mayor here in Detroit, and it all evolved from there.
right.
So that's what we're going to be concentrating on. So yes, we know about the FBI information stuff. I will submit articles and stuff about that and give you like a zhush over of what he went down for, but the concentration will be on the scandal part. Child, it's a lot.
Ooh, oh well.
It's a lot. So y'all stay tuned for that. Once we figure out our next book, Shine,
I
What's
really
that?
think we should look into some I got some authors, something like Zane or somebody in that genre. Something just easy reading and fun,
Well, what did we put out that list for if we weren't gonna use any of those books off the list?
Oh, well, I don't know. But we'll look
I
at
don't
the
know
list.
either.
I'll look at the list. I look at the list too. But
What I
we
will
need more
say,
people making the decision than me and you. Hint, hint, people.
yeah, yeah. And you guys, this was our kind of like test run for the book club to see how it was gonna go and stuff like that. Like literally, we be looking for participation. I'm assuming that you signed up to follow the bookaholics signed up to follow the book club because you were going to be involved in reading the books. But nobody really has been posting like what are their suggestions for book reads or nothing. We have kind of been soliciting every time we go live, asking what do you think the next book should be. We know that we're going to make sure that it is able to be on Kindle, Audibles, and you can physically purchase the book. So they have to have those three qualities. And they gotta have something to keep me in tune because I literally would check out. Like literally.
Right.
Okay. I know that a book is not like a movie. I tell y'all all the time, I only give movies 10 minutes. And the first 10 minutes, if you ain't doing nothing to woo me to keep me in for the next, hour to 2 hours of a movie, then that's a problem. So I at least expect to be getting some kind of thrill or something out of the book in the first couple of chapters. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be having me wait till chapter 10 and you want to start telling me the juicy stuff because I'm like, I done wasted my time. I wasted my time. Like, you got to
Right.
give me something. So, child. We'll see, honey. We'll see what happens. Again, I'll keep everybody posted on the page what we come up with for the next read, and then we'll also provide to you any information on when the next live will be after I come off my hiatus. But girlfriend need a break, you heard.
Yeah, life is really definitely coming fast, so I get why you need a break. I tired too. Okay.
we we both tired.
Girl, shoot. Job's been around here working the hell out of us, and we sick and damn tired of them. Shit.
Yeah, girl, we tired. So
Girl, yes.
yes. So with that being said, my bookaholics, we are out of here. We hope you have a blessed and rest of your Sunday evening, and we hope that you got a thrill out of our rendition of Kaymani's book, Dear Dad. Save your coins. Go back and just listen to the recordings.
You heard me?
So I want to thank my co-host Sean. Thank you as well for joining us today, and thank you all that tuned in for the final chapters of Dear Dad. You guys have a good rest of your evening, and we'll see y'all in the chat. Peace out.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everyone.